Here, what we are going to do is we are going to create the API and submit to the customer. That is one case. And the second case is they will give us the API details. We are going to call them out. Okay, these are the two things we are going to do. Okay. Let me check if I have the Postman account, because from Postman only we are going to test it out. Okay, to test all your APIs, you can use Postman, and you can create your own workspace and start your API testing there. So what I'll do is this business we know we are going to select the prospect type, and if the prospect type is available, we go and check in the database. If it is new, then it will create new details in database, load the details in database. Otherwise, it won't create anything. If at all it has any errors, we will generate email alert. Okay, right? So this is what we are doing. What I'm going to do now is we are going to create a web listener process, meaning this is our regular standard job or batch job. We can go after the deployment, we can go and schedule this process based on the scheduling time it will run. But coming to APIs or the listeners, right? It is event trigger basis. It has to execute. Like when you trigger an API, it has to run immediately, right? So in that case, it won't be a scheduler process. So to make this process as a listener process, only one way: go to the start shape and select your connector. Listeners always can be kept in the start shape only. You cannot keep it after the start shape and all. So remember, for listeners, you always go and select the connector and keep the listener setup in the very first step. Okay. So now you need to select your web services server listeners. Okay, web services server. Okay, this is what you need to select. And if you notice, this will disable the capture run dates and all simultaneous execution and all. We cannot do it. Why? Because it is an event trigger, right? So as and when the user triggers the API, it has to execute. So this will by default, it will disable these two options. So that is fine for us. Okay. Okay. And if you notice here, the connection details we cannot set up for listener. Not only for this web services server listener, any platform if you take, listeners cannot be having any connection details, because the connection details we will be taking from the platform level, and your platform itself, it will manage that. Okay, for not only for Boomi, but any Jitterbit, MuleSoft, or anything if you take, you no need to create a connection for the listener integrations. Okay. You will be setting up only the operation, and based on that operation only, Boomi can understand, okay, what type of value I'm going to take, or what type of value I'm going to send. Based on that, it will start doing the access. Okay. So it will have only one action, that is listen. So it will wait for the user's triggering point, and it will wait. And when the user triggers the API, then it listens that API, and it validates your operation, that whatever the operation settings you have given, right, is that matching or not. It will see that, and based on that, it will trigger your integration. Once the integration is triggered, the rest of the part, right, this part will run and complete your actions. If at all this is throwing any error, then it will throw the error message for you. That's how it works. So first we'll start with the listener process and set up the operation. Yes, create the operation now. To create the operation, what you need for any API, there are basic 5 elements are required. Okay, remember this: API URL, okay, API endpoint credentials, and HTTP method, can say, and request parameters or body, request body. If it is get call, you will be passing the parameters. If it is post call, you will be passing the body. I will give you the difference what is get and post. Okay. And response parameters, mostly, yeah, response parameters you can see, or body you can see. Okay. So these are the 5 elements very much important to do any API testing. Okay, you make sure you got all these details or not, and based on that you will start working on your API integrations. I'm sharing this in chat box. Please copy that. So yeah, let's go into the operation now. So what we are doing first, uh, prospect tracking web listener operation. Okay. Yes. So this is done. Now we are going to select our method. As I told, HTTP method we need to define, right? So we are going to select our method. Okay, is it get query we are going to use, or create we are going to use, or execute you are to. If at all let me tell you the difference between get and post. Okay, get is nothing but fetching the data from the server. Okay, and post is nothing but create or update the records in your to your server. Okay, let's say I want to get the details from the Salesforce server, right? So what I'll do, I'll be using the get request. Okay, I'll be using the get request, and by pass the parameters, I will take it and use that information whichever I received from the Salesforce, and I'll do the computation. But coming to the post request, either if I want to load the data into the Salesforce, or update any data into the Salesforce, then that time I'll be using the post call. Okay. So now what operation we are doing is we are kind of doing a loading part. Okay. So in this case, what we are going to do is we are going to use the post method. But here also, to create any API from Boomi side, you can decide whether you are going to create a get call or you are going to create a post call. Okay, based on that, only customer also they will do it. So but what you can do, right, how you can decide whether I can go with the get call or post call. Let me tell you one thing. So how many parameters you are going to use? If the parameters are less than 5, you can use get call, and you can do whatever computation you want to, I mean the logics and everything, you can work it. But if your parameter list is exceeding more than the parameter list is exceeding more than 5. So if your parameter list is less than 5, go with get. If your parameter list is more than 5, yeah, go with post setup. Okay. Now we are going to validate how many parameters we are going to pass for our Salesforce connector, and based on that we can decide we can create get call or post call. Okay. But creating both is same procedure only. But ultimately, how we are going to use the API. That is what we are going to decide. So coming to the sales first, how many parameters we are currently using? It is only one. Type is the parameter we are going to use. So in this case, I am deciding I can go with get. Even this can be done with post also. That we'll see afterwards. First, we'll try it with get. Okay. So now I have the get operation type, and I will give some object to call. So what I'll do is I'll give prospect tracking. Get prospect tracking, or prospect track is. So so this is my listener name. Okay, this is my listener name. So this is complete. And expected input type, since it is get, right, so we don't pass actual XML or JSON body. So you no need to give the input type here. Keep it as none. But coming to the response output, once you trigger the API, your API should throw some response to you, right? So you can decide what response you want it, whether you want JSON or XML or plain text you want. That you can decide by selecting these options. Single data is nothing but the plain data. So you can enter your response here, success, failed, something like that. You can directly enter it here. So this information will display in the JSON response. Will display in the API response once the call is completed. Okay, and let's say if you want a single XML object, okay, you are maintaining only one single XML response, you can use it. But you are so your get call or post call having more than multiple. See, it is handling multiple XMLs, meaning say you are using post call, okay, and the customer is sending the post message to you. So Boomi will capture those post message and use the transformation logic. In this case, each and every API has its own XML structure. Either it carry forwards one single XML, or even for one API itself, they will use multiple XMLs. In this case, you can decide, okay, customer is going to use a single XML profile or multiple XML. So if it is multiple XML, don't give the profile here. Mostly for single also, you no need to define the profile here, because ultimately we are going to create the XML at the end or JSON at the end. So no need to give it specifically, no need to specify your profile here. Just select the option so that system can understand we need to we need to send some output to the customer. Okay, that it will understand. But what format and all, we can define it later. No need to provide the profile directly here. Okay. So I'm going to use the JSON profile. Mostly for REST APIs and all, we generally use simple JSONs. So I will use JSON profile as the response, and I'm not going to define my profile here. So yeah, this is what the basic things we required for creating the listener. But after the listener, we also need to create a few things that we will see. So for let me quickly recap. We'll create the connection at the very first step for listener processes, and then we'll create the HTTP method, and then we'll give the object name what are based on what each API has its own object name, right? Same when it comes to the prospect tracking process, we have customer, order, prospect. These are the tables we had, but we filtered only prospect related data. Same way, so we are calling the object with prospect tracking, and expected input type. Since we are going with get call, so we are not going to use you know uh, much of the body related inputs. So keep it none. Uh, since we are using simple JSON, so I'm using single JSON object, but I did not define the profile here. Just kept it empty. Okay, save this process. Okay, now my listener is ready. What I'm going to do is I'm I'm going to use my parameter. Okay, what is my parameter that I'm going to set up for this type? So currently for this type, what we are using is the process property. But this time, customer is going to send the type value, and we are going to capture the type value in Boomi and then pass it to the Salesforce account. Okay, so how customer will give you? Let's say if it is a get call, if it is a get call, your domain slash operation URL. After that, you will always find one question mark, and then your parameter details, type equal to prospect. Okay, if it has uh, multiple parameters. Let me take one example. Let's see if we have any example. General, any URL, if you see, yeah, you see, we'll take this example. We'll try to decode this one, what they are doing. So this is your basic API URL. Okay. So what they are doing here, this is your domain part. This part. This part is nothing but this one. Okay. Or so this is your domain part. Okay. And the rest of the part is operation URL. Starting from /s to my learning is your operation URL. And question mark always stands for parameters. Okay. So the parameter here is tab set -fb 460 is your parameter, and the value for it is 3. If at all I have more than one parameters, in this case, what you can find is you can see ampersand symbol. After that, you can see the other parameters. Okay. So this is how you can see for multiple inputs. This is basically your get call. Okay. When it comes to the post call, how it look like is it will have only your URL. It will not contain any parameters. You can easily identify whether it is get call or post call by seeing the parameter list. If the URL has the parameter list, then mostly it is get call. If URL doesn't have any parameter list, then it is a post call. You are going to create or update something into the server. That is what you can understand. Okay, and the parameters list and all you can pass it through either XML or JSON or any free form text. Okay, this way you can easily understand. So coming to the Boomi community page, it is pointing to the get URL. So then we can consider okay, some get related API is happening. Okay, that way you can consider. So now we are also creating the operation with the get call only. So we are also going to pass the parameters through the URL. So when you are passing the information or when you are passing the parameter list to the URL, how can you capture it? Okay, now let's see the Boomi guys. They are giving us this this API, and they wanted us to capture this tab set information equal to 3 means how we can do it. Okay, that we can see. Create one set property, and for capturing all these values, always use DPP, and what is the tab name they are using? Use the same. Okay, no need to change the name. Exactly copy and paste it. Okay, or even I mean for the best practice purpose, I'm using this DPP underscore and all. If at all you don't want that also, that is fine. You can directly take this value. Okay, that is fine. So for any best practice, for the best practice purpose, for any DPP or DDP, I always give DPP underscore or DDP underscore so that it can easily identify the property names. So I'm taking the same tab set name and click OK. And here also use the same DDP name, DPP. Here you put the exact words which is matching with your parameter, exact words. But before that, what we need to do is query underscore. If you don't give this query underscore, you cannot capture that value which is coming from the URL. Okay, that is Boomi default option. So you always give query underscore. After that, you can give your exact parameter. Even if you add any space or anything, you cannot capture the value. So just make sure you are giving the perfect value which is used, which is coming from the URL. The query underscore your parameter name will capture that value 3. Okay. Same way now what we are going to do for our prospect integration, we are going to use type equal to prospect. So in this case, yeah, I'm going to use the query parameter is type. Here also I'll be using query parameter type, and let me copy this DPP and so keep this earliest, and here the parameter we are going to call from process property, right? Just remove that and make it as DPP, so that whatever the value we captured from the URL, that will directly pass on here, and based on that it will capture the values and get the information, query the account information which matches with prospect, and then they will load into the database if the records are new. If there is no issue with the query, but if it has any count value already present in the DB, then it will go to the false path. So this is how we created our integration. Now, let's say your scenario success or failure, we need to display the success or error response rate. So for that, what we are going to do is, I'm going to keep on branch shape before this. Okay, because after this DB connection loading, process will not move to the stop process. So let me take branch 1 and branch 2. Okay, branch 1 will perform the actual API setup. Say now you got your own profile, sorry, now you loaded all your data into the database. Now you need to create your own profile to give the response to the customer, right? So what I'm going to create is, I'm going to have a message shape, and I'm going to create one simple JSON saying braces status equal to 200, message, since it is string, so I'm using double quotes, success, close the braces. Okay, let me verify if this is valid or not. So this is the simple message I'm creating. Okay, let me verify the format is good or not. Yes, format is good. So it's a valid JSON. Yeah. So I created a success message, success JSON. And as I told, remember, as I told earlier, right? When it comes to the listener or process call, what shape at the end we will use? Anybody?
Sorry.
Yeah, when it comes to the listener process or the process call process, what shape we will use at the end? Instead of stop, I told one shape, right? Anybody?
Notify.
No, it is a written document. Okay, using the written document, we'll return the data to the user. When it comes to the process call and listener jobs, you always use the written document. And I'm naming this written document as success, just for my understanding. And same concept. So here I also I'll
Data, right? In the return call,
sorry.
we are just retrieving the data.
Yeah, we are just returning the data to the API user. Whoever triggering that API, right? They want to see the response, how it works. So for that reason, we are creating this.
So we will not use top shape, right? Whenever we use a return document.
Yeah, we will not. I mean, written document also same like stop only, but you need to understand which are the places you can use this written document. There is no limitation. Even in this place also I can keep written document. In this place also I can keep written document. But ultimately, whatever the data which is coming after this shape, or whatever the data which is coming after this shape, it will hold it in a temporary location. Okay, written document also a kind of a storage unit for Boomi. Okay, it will hold the information in some temporary location, and it will display it for you in the Boomi process logs, or maybe the API Postman response and all. It will show to show that value we are using the return document. But stop, what it will do, just halt the integration. It is not a storage unit. It just halt the integration. We are giving a full stop there. That's it. But here, coming to the written document, it's kind of comma we are doing. Like we have some operations for written document. The job for the written document is to display the document value to the user, either in the Boomi process reporting page or coming to APIs. In the API response section, it has to show the value. So when it comes to the process calls, or when it comes to the listener jobs, you always keep in mind that to display the response, you always use the return document. Here and all, I'm not needing it, so that's the reason I kept stop. But to display the API response to the customer, I need return document to hold my values. Okay, that is why.
Can we say that for all the synchronous processes, we should use return document instead of stop?
Yeah, we can say that. Consider for all your event jobs. When you say synchronous jobs, right? Sometimes we'll use schedule jobs also for synchronous purpose and all. Okay. So I would rephrase like when you are using event related processes, use the return document instead of stop. Okay. So yeah, so we have created our success body. Now we are going to create the same setup for error. So before halting the integration, I will send out an email, and I will send the false report to the user, and then we can stop. Okay. So here what I'm going to do is I'm going to update 4.4, and here I'm going to use braces 1, and we know this guy. When it comes to errors, document property, metadata, right catch message. We no need to construct the error message. We need to capture the actual error message. So we will always be using this try catch, right? So now, yeah, my process is ready. All errors, good. Now, yeah, my process is ready. I will be saving this integration. And if I want to start, I'm not able to start. Why? Because for any listener integration, test mode is disabled. Okay, you cannot test it directly. You need to deploy the integration and call the API directly. Then only you can integrate your. You can test your integration. So before deploying, I'm going to check all my integration extensions and see if I have missed anything. Okay, good. So I'm going to create the package and do the deployment. So I will name it as Prospect API. Now this is fine. So where is that? Yeah. So now we have completed HTTP definition, request and response structure, and all we have defined. But where can I get this API URL and API endpoint credentials from Boomi? So here I'm the API developer. I have created the API. Now I'm going to submit this API to my end user. So if he wants to call the API, right? We have created this operation part and this part. Okay. And where can I get this part and user credential to call that API? That we need it, right? So you can go to the Boom, create a duplicate, go to the manage atom management page. You select your atom, If you scroll down here under the settings and configuration, you can always find shared web server. If you open that, this is the guy you are going to use for your base URL. So now you start building your API URL. Okay, copy it, take your API base URL, that is your domain URL, and now you are going to create the rest of your integration URL, right? So this is your simple URL path. When you come to your operation, this get and prospect track we created, right? It got created with one simple listener URL. So you copy this simple URL and attach it with your base URL. Now there you go. This is your API URL. And after that, we know we have used our type as prospect. So attach it. Now my get URL is ready. So this point also covered. Now how can I get the API endpoints now? First we'll make sure what is the value we are using here. Okay. Now HTTP method is done, request and response is done, API URL construction also completed. How can I get the endpoint details, the user credentials? So what I'll do is we'll go to the atom management page, shared web server. In the general tab, I can get the base URL. And if you open this user management, there you can get your user value, meaning your username, you can get it. But how can you get the password? Okay, before getting the password, what you need to do is you need to allow your API to access this Boomi account. Okay, so we created the API, but we are not connecting the bond between the Boomi platform and your API, right? So we are going to connect the bond between them. So click on this allow checkbox and select your API. Okay, it will display your API name. If you select here, yes, now you are connecting the bond. Like there is a redirection we need to create, right? When user triggers your API, the redirection we have to establish. Then only it will first come to the Boomi platform and listens that particular operation, and then it triggers and give you the response. Okay, for that reason, you need to every time whenever you deploy any API, just come here and enable this allow access. Then only you can able to see the process. Otherwise, you may get some errors. Okay, so allow it. Okay, now I got my username where I can get the password by clicking this generate token. This is the first time for this account I'm creating the password. That is why it is coming. If it is already established means you no need to click the generate token. You can always copy it. Okay, so first time I'm doing it, so I'll show you how to do it. Okay, generate token. Yes, there you go. This is my password. Okay, next time onwards and all, I no need to generate. If at all I want to generate, yeah, I can generate it. But yeah, no need to do that. I can directly go and copy the password details. Okay. First, let me take the username for my URL and remove the excess spaces and everything.
And what's the validity for this token?
No validity. This is your Boomi account, right? So no validity. Copy your password. Until unless you generate a new token, you can use it. Okay, mostly when it comes to the Boomi customer accounts, right, you don't generate any tokens. Whatever is already there, you will access always. So even for customer accounts, don't generate it. If it is your training account, you can generate many times. Like if I generate new one, it will update with what. See, so as long as you are keeping it, you can use it. So I'm updating my password. And save this option. Okay, once you save, only this allow and this generate token will stay there for. So yeah, I have saved it now. So if at all in future I want to take the token, I can click on this show token button and copy it. That's it. Every time no need to save it because we did not make any change, right? Yeah, now we got the API endpoints as well. So Now we'll try to go and call the API in the Postman. So let me see. So what is your HTTP method? It is get only we are using. And then API URL, you can post it. And then API credentials we need to post, right? So that you can go to the authorization tab, basic auth, username and password you will be giving. Sometimes even everything is correct also, sometimes the APIs won't work. So you need to see and fix that error, what is happening. You may get 404 operation is not working, or you may get some other calls and all. Now, yeah, HTTP method is defined, URL is defined, endpoint is defined, parameter also defined. Only pending part is the response. So when you trigger this API, you should get the JSON response. Let's see. Okay. See, my account is allowing me. Sometimes, if your account is SSO, you cannot, create API or expose those APIs from Postman. Not sure my account is SSO or direct log. So far, I'm using direct login. Let's see.
So here you're just getting the prospect tracking information, right? You're pulling those
Correct.
information.
Correct. Okay. Yeah, it is not allowing me to.
What is the password? After password, I see a triangle error. Is there any specific?
That is normal warning. You can use variables also, but yeah, I don't prefer variables. Now go and check your prospect reporting page. See, our integration listener job is already completed. For some reason, it is not. I mean, the integration wise, it is completed. Let's see what is the return document it returned. Yeah, I see success only. So this same response should have to come here, but the error, I mean, not the error, but alert what I got is whatever the request we created, it is taking more than 30 seconds to fulfill. That is why, okay, 30 seconds to fulfill. That is why it did not display the response. What I'll do is maybe I'll cut off these things. I don't want to do the mapping and all. I'll try to reduce some time to show you the response. We'll take search data immediately. Need to take this. Yeah, I mean, this is enough, I think. So we see, okay. We'll try to pass the prospect tracking and we'll do the query. And if the query is completed, then we wanted to display the response. Redeployment. So our process is good, but I wanted to show you the API response, cutting off few steps. So after redeployment, whatever the changes you made, that will implement. Every change you make, you need to redeploy it. Otherwise, the change will not reflect for your API. Okay. So now, yeah, we are going to do only simple query. After that, we are going to display the success. Let's see now. See. So this is how your API will go. You will get the 200 OK response when it comes to the success case. And this is the JSON body we have defined, right? And if you notice here, we did not provide our JSON profile here. Even if you want to provide your JSON response also, that is fine. But ultimately, for a best practice, I don't give the profiles here. I just select whatever the profile I want to display, that I will keep it, but I don't use the real profiles here. but now we have defined the JSON response, so we can see the response. If at all Boomi goes to the fail state, yeah, it will give me this response. Okay, but for now we don't have any error cases, so yeah, maybe you guys can try it out. Okay, how it works with the error and all. Same response 404 and error message will display. Okay, this is how you can create your own API and you can execute or give it to the customer. Now customer is giving me this API details. Okay, he is giving me this API details. How you are going to call them? Okay, so for that we are going to create a separate job. Let me create a new job. HTTP client as giving name, creating a new job. Start shape is no data since we are going to call that API, right? So start shape is no data. And I'm going to keep a HTTP client connector. So whatever the listener is your server connector, now you are going to client. That is how you share the relationship, right? You send a request to the client process send a request to the server process, and server hits gets the data for you, and then that information you will be sending back to the client process, and you will get the data. Okay, so now we are going to create the client process. So first thing what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a HTTP client connection and operation. In the connection we will be providing these details, the base URI details and the username password, and in the operation we are going to use this rest of the path, and we'll trigger the API and see how it displays the response. Okay, now yeah, connection, let me create a new connection, and I take only the base URL, not the rest of the path, only the base URL I take, copy, and if you don't have any authentication, keep it none, but currently we have the authentication, right? So keep it basic. In the basic only you will get username password. There are a lot of API authorization methods you have. So OAuth is there, OAuth 2.0 is there, client ID, client secret and all you will be using under OAuth and OAuth 2.0. API keys and all you will be using here. But in basic, you will be always using username and password. So use username, password, like now the action is get only, yes, get. So even the listener you are using, for post call, I told you, right? Same setup, same setup, you use execute for post. If it is more than, you know, 5 parameters, you always use post for post call, you can use execute method. Rest of the things are same. Here in the input type, you will be using input profile here. And in the set property, how will you capture the, same for post call, we used DDP, right? Get call we used DDP query, but for post call and all, you can directly use your profile element. Whatever profile you are going to get from the customer. Let's say my customer is sending this body to me. This body, what he is doing is, he is giving me some JSON data. So in this one, he is directly giving me body like this. Prospect. Okay, this is my request body now. So when it comes to post call, you need to update this as post. And same this one, in the post call, you don't use the parameters in the URL, you use the parameters in the body, right? You select body and give your you can select whatever format. As I told, we can use text format, JSON and XML and all, but mostly for REST APIs, everybody uses JSON only. So yeah, I'm going with JSON. So customer, they have used this profile, and when they trigger the API, how Boomi has to capture this type is just, select your profile element, JSON element, and select your JSON, and then select your respective type parameter. Okay, respective type parameter, and the same type parameter will go. Okay, so only small difference when it comes to get and post is, for get you will be using the operation type as get, for post you will be using execute. And for get you don't give the expected input, for post you will be giving the expected input. And for get the set property you will use the query type, and for post you will be using the profile type. These are the three changes you will make, and rest of the things more or less similar. And coming to the API construction, HTTP method is, for get is get, for post is post, and the parameters for get you will be passing in the URL, same like this. And for post you will be passing it in the body. That's it. These are the 5 changes you will follow. Okay. Okay. So this is how you created your API. But coming to the getting part, okay, customer has given the API details to you. You need to you need to access that API from the server. Now we created our connection. Let me go and create my rest of the operation. So rest of my operation is nothing but what HTTP method we are going to use, get, yes. And what is my request profile? No, I don't have any request profile. And what is my response profile? Yes, I will be using JSON profile. Okay. Here in the client process, you always define your response profile. Then only, Boomi will return the response for you. Okay. Now, I'll no,
Uh,
I'll
Is it
see.
going to take a lot of time to complete
No,
this?
let me finish it off in next 8 minutes. Okay? Just 5 more minutes. Okay, what are the objects we have? The success, status, message. This is my response, right? So I created a response JSON. Yeah. So same connection is done, user credential is done, HTTP method is done, request or response profile also done. But one part is missing, that the rest of the URL, right? So copy this, but don't select the first slash, because connection part is already set up in the HTTP connection, and rest of the part we are going to set up in resource path. But doing that, we no need to give this single slash. Instead, Boomi will take care of that. Okay, so just copy that part, and if you come down below, you find the resource path. Yes, you will give the resource path without the before slash, because Boomi by default it will take care. Okay, when the connection is making, it will automatically take care of it. You make sure your URL looks correct or not. Yes, it looks correct to me. Yes. Now I'm going to keep the stop shape, and this is nothing but your Postman call, whatever you are making, right? That Postman call you are making in the client process. That's it. Say I'm going to test the process now to see whether I'm getting the JSON response. When I trigger this API here, process reporting has to trigger that API. See, yeah, it got triggered. You see, it got triggered. Here I need to get the response. Let's see. Second time the process got triggered and it is running now. Yes, here it is running now. As and when it completes, my HTTP client also complete. Yes, it is completed. Let's see the response. There you go. So this is how you create your APIs or you access your APIs. To create your API means you create the listener process. Access your API means you always create your client process. You always use this HTTP client and you provide all your API details there. You get the details.